All right, welcome back to Impact 2022, booked in TEW 2020. This is Ryan, and we are at week 2 of February, about a couple shows away from No Surrender, and we got a pretty, hopefully decent show on the way to No Surrender. Probably just get into the news. Don't have a lot of news this week. Well, we have a few tidbits on our side, but as for the rest of the world, not a lot. Um, in keeping track with our ratings, before the impact was a 0.01 as usual. I am trying to book it a little differently than it is in real life with some actual matches and like at least interview segments to um hype up what will happen in Impact. Um and as for last week's Impact, we got a 0.22, which was up zero point 0.1, so at least, improving a little bit. As far as Impact news, Matt Cardona has officially left Impact. His contract has run out. Um, and since he has accepted an exclusive handshake deal with AIW, he is also out of GCW. So AIW in Cleveland is the only place where you can see Matt Cardona now. Um, I have decided to release Alicia Edwards. Like I mentioned last week, her and Eddie Edwards have gotten a divorce, and I wasn't really planning on using her anyway, and it was free to release her, and it improved backstage morale a little bit, only by maybe like 2%, but still. Um, so she is gone, and Black Taurus has a minor morale issue from last week's gimmick change. Um, He is a bit irritated from the poor gimmick change, but hopefully that well will get better. And I think he is mildly irritated, which hopefully can be fixed. Um, and that's pretty much it on our side. As far as the rest of the world, we don't have any major show aftermaths. I don't well, maybe a little what bit, but um, WWE has some call ups. They called up Ryan Katz, Robbie Brookside, William Regal, Tommaso Ciampa, and Danny Burch to the main roster. I'm not sure what it means to call up someone in backstage to the main roster, but at least in universe, those people still have jobs. So, and then also Samoa Joe. Speaking of someone who still has a job there, uh, has a has decided to extend his contract. So, unlike in real life, he is staying with WWE. Um, as far as New Japan, Tetsuya Naito will remain there. He has signed an exclusive written contract. So probably good for them because he is one of their top stars. I don't know if there are plans on him leaving, but apparently not. Unfortunately, on the Noah side, Go Shiozaki suffered a partial PCL tear and will be out for over 2 months. So that sucks for them. Um, and then I guess the major show Fallout, the only really show they had last week. For Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Ryback has won their world title from Chris Dickinson. So, I guess Ryback is coming back. Um, yeah. And then for on retirement watch, we have Don Marie, Gary Wolf, and Brian Alvarez is officially retiring from in-ring competition. So that's pretty much it for news. It's a light news week. Let's just get into Impact. All right, we are starting Impact tonight with a hoss battle of sorts. Jonah defeating Jake something with a segment rating of 34. Um, and then after the match, despite losing, Jake something uh confronts Jonah and offers up his hand for a handshake, and the two competitors shake hands. And this is mostly done so I can actually turn Jonah face. Um, Unlike I tried to do a few weeks ago and forgot to. So we will turn him babyface. The fans are becoming jaded. This turn has suffered as a result. I thought this said he hasn't turned recently. Set to turn has been building it up for 3 segments. That's because I forgot. Um, so I don't know how this is a shock. The turn didn't go particularly well. So I hope he doesn't have any morale issues like Black Taurus does, but hopefully they'll be minor. So yeah, Jonah gets the win over Jake something, and the two show respect for each other. Meanwhile, we go to the commentary table. We take this moment to announce, I guess, that as announced on behind the or yeah, before the impact, excuse me, there was an interview with Moose, who has decided that he will sign, he will accept Josh Alexander's challenge from last week for a loser leaves TNA match, but he has sent the contract and consulted his lawyers and has decided to amend the contract, and there will be a contract signing later tonight. But while the announcers are talking about that, they have a phone call from Chelsea Green, and they ask her about her status and the status of her husband, Matt Cardona. And she says that after a few weeks ago losing to Jonathan Gresham, he is going through some issues that he has decided to work out on his own. And she does not want to talk about things right now, but she announces that at No Surrender she will make an official statement and appear and clear the air about what is going on with the both of them. So basically setting up her return for No Surrender, segment rating of 36. Meanwhile, backstage, we have Quinn McKay interviewing Rich Swann and Willie Mack, partially about their match last week, defeating Bullet Club USA, and they're excited about, remaining relevant in the tag team division when Chris Bay interrupts the promo. And he's like, I don't think you two have seen what Bullet Club USA is truly capable of. It's obvious you didn't go up against their best last week. And so therefore I challenge the both of you to matches. I'm not going to take both of you on at the same time. That would just be dumb. But I'll hold my guys back. You hold one of your guys back. And, well, let me rephrase that. It's like, I'm going to go out to the ring and I'm going to hold my guys back. One of you come out to the ring. One of you hold the other back. And I'll take one of you one on one this week and one of you one on one next week to show the world that I am the best and of Bullet Club and the best, la 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 la. So Bay goes out to the ring, and Rich Swann and Willie Mack are kind of deciding amongst themselves on who will face Bay. Segment rating of 30. And we get Willie Mack defeating Chris Bay. Um, like they promised, no interference from the other members of Bullet Club USA and no interference from Rich Swann, just a one-on-one match. and Willie Mack came out the victor. Segment rating of 29. Unfortunately, Chris Bay was not able to prove or back up what he had claimed and was quite dejected about it. Meanwhile, backstage, we see Kimberly talking to Brandy Lauren, who is continues to be somewhat out of sorts, especially after losing her match on Before the Impact. And Kimberly is trying to ask her questions about her and or the two of them being Sue Young's undead bridesmaids, and Brandy Lauren continues to not remember. And of course, she kind of wants to be left alone after losing her match. But that doesn't happen because Madison Rain comes up to the both of them, and she's just like, "I need, you got just two knockouts. And I'm glad I ran into both of you. I need the both of your help. Ever since Tennille Dashwood turned on me and joined the Inspiration, I've just been wanting to get them back, and I need help doing that." And Kimber looks at her and she's like, "I don't really care about your problems, and can't you see that we've just been through a traumatic event, and Brandy is not taking things well." Meanwhile, Brandy kind of warming up to the idea and looking up to Madison Rain. She's like, "Yeah, that sounds good," and Madison's just like, I need a three of us to take on the three of them, and I'll do whatever it takes." And Lauren's like, "I'm sounds good to me. I'm feeling fine." And Kimber's like, "You're not feeling fine. You're just, you just blocked out a traumatic memory." And Madison again is just like, "I don't care about your guys' problems. Focus on my problems." So, um doesn't really seem like there's a official answer from at least Kimber, but maybe we have a new alliance formed. Segment rating of 27. And then also backstage, we have, much in the same vein, Nick Stapp, CPA, is kind of dejected about losing his match from Before the Impact to Mike Bailey, and VSK is apologizing because it was his interference that you know helped Bailey get the win. And they're just talking amongst each other until Brian Myers and Avery Good walk up to the both of them and is like, "Yeah, well, while you guys were out in the pre-show, I was negotiating with Scott Demore to get us a match at No Surrender," which perks everybody in the crew up, even VSK and CPA. And they're like, "Really? What's going on?" And it's just and Myers is like, "I got, there's a few stipulations, you know." He's like, "Unfortunately, it's still pre-show, but whoever wins will get a pay-per-view match next month at Sacrifice." So they're all excited, and BSK and CPA are like, "You got all four of us a match?" And Myers is kind of like, "Yeah, that's what I just said." And then they're like, "Well, who are we facing?" And Myers is like, "What do you mean? What does it matter?" He uh, tries to, uh, change the subject, but they're like, the four of us against the four of who?" And Myers like, "That's the thing. It's not the four of us. It's the two of us, Myers and Good, versus the two of you, VSK and CPA." And he just kind of drops that bomb on them and kind of pats them on the back. It's like, "Hey, well, good talk. I'll see you later," and leaves them both, back to wallowing in misery of somewhat, while Myers is uh, hyping up Avery Good and giving him pointers and walking away. So, uh, yep, pre-show match, Set for No Surrender, Myers and Good versus VSK and CPA. Segment rating of 23. Meanwhile, back to the ring, we have Black Taurus defeating Zicky Dice. Um, Segment rating of 25. Black Taurus is most pretty much in control most of the time, but Zicky Dice kind of gets a comeback. But that comeback is cut off when Ace Austin runs out, and with his, magical appearing cane that he uses in his entrance, whacks Zicky in the back of the head, allowing Black Taurus to finish him off and get the win. Segment rating of 25. I think I said that already. And again, this giving Taurus this win, I hope will uh, cheer him up a bit. And we go backstage where we have Johnny Swinger and Rosemary are kind of arguing against each other, with James Mitchell being the go-between, and Swinger he's actually kind of yelling at Mitchell. He's like, "You booked the four of us against the four of them, like they're big and they're scary, but like we got me, we got Zicky." But then we got Hernandez, he's still got a bum arm, and Johnny Bravo, who's not even a wrestler. So that's like 4 versus 2.5. That's not fair. And then, meanwhile, Ace Austin comes back from having just cost Zicky Dice's match and is gloating in Swinger's face. He's like, "Oh, did you see what I did to your boy?" And blah, blah, blah. And Mitchell is like, "Oh," and he looks at Austin. He's like, "How ironic we got a wild card inserting himself." And he's like, "You know what, Swinger, you're right. I'm going to call off that match. 4 versus 4? Nah, I don't like those odds. The odds are too simple. Now, this is a 10 person battle royal. Swinger's crew of 4, and Decay of 4, and Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Same steps apply. Swinger, if you're at, you know, we have to have one person left standing, and if it's anyone in your crew, you'll have your casino. I'll agree to your terms. Decay will be forced to break up. All of that. And Swinger's just like, "Wait, you're making the odds worse now. Now it's 6 against 2.5." And Mitchell is like, "Hey, you're the one that made the deal with the devil. You didn't think it was gonna be easy." So, and he laughs and walks away, and Austin kind of laughs and walks away, and Rosemary taunts him and walks away, and Swinger's just kind of depressed now. His dreams of a casino are kind of slipping through his fingers. Segment rating of 29. Johnny Bravo helped during this wing segment, even though he probably wasn't here. uh, Backstage, we have Lady Frost, who is kind of cooling down after her match from before the Impact, defeating Brandy Lauren, when suddenly she is jumped from behind from Savannah Evans and Tasha Steeles, and I kind of said there's need to be a little more star power to have the heels, I guess, fighting for that long. This is because I booked the segment long so they could sufficiently beat up Lady Frost to give us an excuse to write her off for her maternity leave. So this is basically them putting her through the ringer, through garbage and stuff like that. I wanted to do a medic angle, but the network said that was too risky. So yeah, Evans and Steele are getting revenge on Lady Frost. Segment rating off 16, and this is basically our way of writing her off for the time being. So Deonna Purrazzo comes out to the ring for her tag match against Mickey James and Roxy, and has decided to choose her opponent as Mercedes Martinez, um, on loan from AEW, I guess, since she is contracted there, but also contracted with us too. So, segment rating of 24. And then the match itself, Deonna and Mercedes defeated Mickey James and Roxy when Martinez submitted Roxy. Roxy is getting better at her gimmick. So segment rating of 32. Yeah, this is building up towards the winner takes all match at No Surrender between Purrazzo and Mickey James, but leaves things open considering Martinez, the veteran, tapped out Roxy, the newcomer. All right. Let's see how I'm trying to remember how I booked this match. This one. All right. Scott Demore is leaving his office, and shutting the door behind him, and right away he is confronted by Steve Macklin, and Macklin's like, "I want to know what you're doing to, make things right. I should be, I should be contending for the X Division title and blah 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 and all the things he's been saying for the last couple weeks." He's like, "You know what? I wasn't intending on making things right. I was just gonna, ignore you and, move along with my business. I've got business concerning Josh Alexander and Moose tonight. I have to be there for the contract signing, and you're the last thing on my mind. But you know what? Since you're right here, I'm gonna, you know, coincidentally, you just caught me after a meeting with a new talent, and they're going to debut on the No Surrender pre-show, which will be free on YouTube for everyone. And originally I was just going to announce them and they're, them being an Impact, but you know what? I'll give them a match and I'll make that match against you. And if you win, you can have your X Division title shot back. And but you won't know who this person is until No Surrender when, you're facing them in front of the ring. So, good luck. And pats him on the shoulder and walks away. Um, kind of leaving Steve steaming and, still quite angry with his status. Demore worked. I had this as a kind of like an improv segment, so Scott Demore did well while Steve Macklin did not. Segment rank 23. We have a music video to show W. Morrissey. Mostly to remind everyone that he is still employed, but also that he plans on uh, speaking his mind regarding his future in Impact. He will show up next week on Impact and, wants to make sure that people hear what he has to say. Segment rating of 23. And in our main event, the Wolves, the first match together in Impact since they broke up, well, I guess years ago, um, defeating the team of X Division champion Trey Miguel and Chris Sabin, opponents at No Surrender, but tag team partners tonight, and their friendship and their partnership seemed to fall apart a bit in while facing the Wolves. And after some miscommunication, it was uh, Davey who pinned Trey Miguel, the champion. So segment rating of 45. Davey Richards was somehow off of his game, which I don't know. This is his first match back, but considering he had a 45, well, yeah. In-ring performance of 46, so that's better than both Miguel and Sabin. Not quite as good as Eddie, but still, can't be that off his game. So yeah, the Wolves have returned. Um, they will challenge for the tag team championship against the Good Brothers at No Surrender. And speaking of that, the Good Brothers come out and basically lay out the Wolves while they had, finished their match. They came out with cheap shots and all that to lay out the Wolves and stand above them with the titles held high. Segment rating of 47. And then for the contract signing between the world champion Moose and Josh Alexander and their loser leaves Impact match. Moose comes out with the contract and announces that he's brought the contract before his lawyers, and for him to agree to the terms of the match, he had to add terms of his own. And Alexander's on the other side, and Josh Demore or Scott Demore, uh, as Josh Alexander picks up the contract, and Scott says, those stipulations, aren't, you know, I need to make sure you look at that contract carefully before you sign, but not even like he doesn't even get the sentence out of his mouth as Josh Alexander signs it, throws down the contract, and Demore kind of, sighs and just like, oh. And the Moose just laughs at him and he's like, well, since you decided not to read the contract, let me spell out the stipulations for you. We will have this loser leaves Impact match, but not at No Surrender. You know, I need time to prepare for such a big match like that. So we're going to have it at Sacrifice in March instead. But that doesn't mean we get No Surrender off. Uh Both of us are going to be busy because as for those stipulations I added, we both have pick your poison matches where we will face off against opponents of our choosing. So I will choose your opponent for No Surrender, and you will choose mine in a non-title match. So that's basically it. Um, Shockingly, Alexander is not mad in the least, which kind of pisses Moose off. He's like, "Why aren't you angry at this? I put one over on you." And Alexander's like, "You're only delaying the inevitable. Loser leaves Impact. I'm still getting that match. It can be anytime, anywhere, and as long as one of us is gone at the end, you know." And Moose, in an effort to kind of piss Alexander off, slaps him in the face, and that seems to work. Uh, Fearing what will happen next, Demore jumps out of the ring, and the two begin to brawl. And throughout the course of the brawl, the table ends up propped in the corner, and Moose is actually the one to spear Josh Alexander through the table. So this edition of Impact ends with Moose holding the title up high and the contract as well, and lays the signed official contract on Alexander's chest as he leaves the ring. So, like he said, the match won't be at No Surrender. It'll be at Sacrifice. But for No Surrender, it'll be Moose and Josh Alexander in Pick Your Poison matches. The segment rating of 31. Again, this was a long segment since this was the finish to the show and needed more star power to have Moose fighting for that long. So I guess Moose isn't as big of a star as he thinks. Let's finish the show. Overall rating of 38. Again, probably the same show notes that we have been getting. I was getting kind of worried about our rating, especially when I saw the rating for Frost's write-off ambush segment. But the Good Brothers have saved us as much as the Good Brothers versus Eddie and now Davey Richards has been like our hottest um storyline. So that has kind of pulled up our uh ratings, or at least our show rating. Um I was kind of hoping at least Purrazzo versus Mickey James I think might be like the next highest, if not that, then Moose versus Alexander, but those aren't considered hot storylines. And like it says, the general feeling is that Impact doesn't have enough interesting storylines. So Good Brothers versus Eddie, and well, Good Brothers versus the Wolves now seems to be the front runner of our feuds. So yeah, that was Impact. We have one more show before No Surrender, but let me go over the card. Like now that we have um changes. So our pre-show is Brian Myers and Avery Good versus VSK and CPA. The learning tree explodes, I guess. The winning team will get a pay-per-view match the next month at Sacrifice. And then we have Steve Macklin versus a mystery newcomer to Impact. And if Macklin wins, he can get his X title shot back. Um, and then we have for the X title, we have Trey Miguel defending against Chris Sabin. Um, we have the now Swingers Casino Battle Royal, which is Johnny Swinger, Zicky Dice, Hernandez, Johnny Bravo, Rosemary, Havoc, Black Taurus, Crazy Steve, and now Ace Austin, Ed Madman Fulton. Um, Basically, if someone from Swingers team wins, they get the casino, and Decay has to break up, and otherwise, uh, James Mitchell gets their souls, I guess, as far as the terms go. Um, we have the tag team titles of the Good Brothers defending against the Wolves. We have pick your poison matches. Moose will face a partner of Josh Alexander's choosing, and Josh Alexander will face a opponent of Moose's choosing. And we've decided the main event will be the Knockouts title winner take all cage match. Deonna Purrazzo versus Mickey James. Not just the Knockouts title, but the Ring of Honor women's title and the Reina de Reinas AAA women's title. All of them will be on the line for whoever wins that match. So, yep, we have. And I was also going to mention Chelsea Green's return to make a statement for the future of her and her husband Matt Cardona. Um, that was an actual match, but that's on here too. So yeah, that's it for Impact. We have one more week till No Surrender, and I will see you then.